What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1996 Mercury Cougar XR7. Up front is a 4.6-liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I'm super excited to be driving this Cougar because it's been several years since I've driven one. I drove a 1995, a green one owned by my friend Austin, many years ago. And so I think it's important to re-feature cars here on the channel, see what's changed in that time. But also, this is such a low mileage clean example. It only has 51,000 miles on it, and I'm excited to share it with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackcradle.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois, for letting me take out their Cougar XR7. You'll hear more about them at the end of the video. But if you're interested in low mileage survivor cars, please go check out their inventory in the description below. But let's get back to that 4.6-liter overhead valve V8 under the hood. It's a 2-valve, and it's nothing special. It's the modular V8 4.6-liter. However, in its pursuit of being unspecial, it's actually become something that's wonderful. It's an incredibly reliable car. It's an incredibly reliable engine, and parts for the engine are very easy to find. Some years of the 4.6 do have intake issues. However, those are drops in a bucket when it comes to vehicles of this size and stature. The 4.6 modular V8 is wonderful. It always has been, and it will continue to be. Like I said, paired to it, it's a 4-speed automatic. It's a little clunky. It's a very dated 4-speed. We're so spoiled in today's vehicles that have such quick shifts and have upwards of 6, 7, 8 gears. This is a 4-speed. It's a little rough around the edges, but it works, and I'm not complaining. Last but not least, the Cougar XR7 from 1996 is rear-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a Cougar? Well, it does sort of feel like its Crown Vic brother-in, but it does feel shorter, and it most certainly feels sportier. There is a little bit of waft to the suspension, but I can't say nearly as much as the Panther platforms, and it's a decently sporty ride. Visibility out the front is pretty good. Visibility out the rear isn't. Has these little tiny coupe windows in the back that I don't love. But hey, when you're driving a Cougar, you're looking forward, not back, baby. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and speedometer. In the center is my voltage and fuel. And off to the right, we have the tachometer and oil pressure. Plain and simple and easy to read. On the steering wheel, we get the cruise controls off to the left and right. Very simple. We get a nice Cougar badge in the center that I really like as well. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, our headlight and panel dim switches. And moving out of the door, we have power mirrors and power windows, along with the typical Ford lock and unlock labeled with U and L. We also get this really funky pattern on the door card that I absolutely love. Very nostalgic, very 90s. We'll talk about that more with the rest of the interior. But moving into the center, we get one single climate vent along with a digital clock. We get our climate controls. They look like they're just bolted in here. They don't look super flush with the rest of the interior, but that's okay. Defrost off to the left on its own separate button. And then we have the radio. So this has the Dolby noise reduction, and it says Ford on it. I've always found this interesting. From the 70s up through the 90s, the Ford Motor Company stamped all of their radios with the Ford badge, no matter if it came in a Lincoln or a Mercury or just a Ford product. Very interesting to see that here. It also gets a little premium badge sound, which I find kind of interesting. Giant cubby down below, and then we move down to the shifter. Shifter is a very typical Ford shifter of the era. Nothing really too crazy to note here, but definitely cool to see it. And then we have a little ashtray and cigarette lighter along with coin holders. The original XR7 video, I said that these were vents. These are not vents, they are coin holders. Put a couple quarters in here, get ready to pay a toll, that sort of thing. We do have an opening center console that not only has the trunk release button, but you fold down part of the lid and it has 2 cup holder indents. This is by far a terrible design, because then you just have this giant door hanging open. But fast food drinks were a lot less common in the mid-90s, and so they weren't really equating for it too much. However, we'll do a big friggin' bottle test. It fails. I could have told you that years ago. Now we gotta talk about the seats, and the seats have the same pattern found on them as were found on the door cards, which I absolutely love. There's just this warm coziness with them, and I think that they're beautiful. I think that they're great, and in just such a nostalgic way. This car with its 51,000 mile, one owner life, they've been very, very well kept. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. I always hate getting in the back of these coupes. Ugh. Once I'm back here, it's very, very comfortable. Let me get my whole body back here. The seats themselves, very cushy, very comfortable. Headroom is actually pretty good. We'll talk about the squared off roofline in a second, but it really helps out. Once I'm back here, it's fine. It's the whole process of getting back here that I don't like in coupes. And so I wish this was a 4-door. Beggars can't be choosers. It's not a 4-door, and so here it is. Let's hop out, we'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Here's the trunk of the XR7 Cougar, very, very big. American cars used to be known for this, and I truly miss the days that they were. Absolutely lovely. I don't get any crazy features in here. There's no cool gadgets or gizmos. However, it's a big trunk, it's a big American trunk, and that's what we like to see. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've never honestly been a big fan of this generation of Cougar. I think it's kinda and I just straight up don't love it. I do respect the fact, however, that it does have that squared off back, sort of holding on to those older style of cars, even though in 1996, we were rocketing right towards the 2000s. And so, I like that touch of the older generation. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another Mercury Cougar XR7? Well, I've really enjoyed this experience. It's been really fun to drive this low mileage vehicle. It's very well kept, and I hope if anything else, you enjoyed just looking at the car while I talked about it. However, there's something gnawing at me throughout this entire video, and that would be the fact that this feels like an end. Now, this is not the final generation of the Cougar. There was actually another generation after this that I really want to drive because it looks like a Hyundai Tiburon in my opinion, and I've never driven one. But sitting in here with these comfy, swirly seats, they really remind me of the subtle details that you see either in a hospital or an end-of-life facility. Just this generic, swoopy pattern to break up the stiff and uncomfortable chairs of a waiting room. And that's how this car feels. This car feels like the end of a line, the end of a bloodline. The Mercury Cougar was such a cool car back in the day, but as it got up into the 90s, that coolness started to ooze out. Now, it's cool today in a different sense of the word, and a very retro style, and as something you don't see much of anymore, that's still very cool. But in its era, this feels kind of like an older grandpa car. It's not as agile as it used to be. It has rolls in places where muscle used to be. And maybe it's because when I got into this car, it was tuned to the light jazz station of the Chicagoland area. So I got in and I heard Miss McRae singing about how love isn't real, playing some jazz. And so the time for the Cougar eventually came, and it was ended along with the Mercury brand. And it had a lot to look back on and smile about. And I have to say, it retired in quite the comfort. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois. They specialize in low mileage survivor vehicles, one owner, maybe two owners, but they have a very strict set of what they will sell, which is super cool and super helpful to the channel. If you guys want low mileage survivors at very competitive prices, please check out Low Mile Cars. Their inventory will be found in the description below. It is like eye candy, and I can't wait to work with them more. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.